Hello and welcome to episode 188 of Controller Club, the friendly face gaming space, a podcast where three friends from three continents share in one love, and that is video games. On today's show, buy your Roboco stock and get your Vault 33 dungarees on as we review Fallout Season 2, episodes 5 and 6. But before all that, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Kleinfeld, and alongside me today are three of my best friends in the whole wide gaming world. First, coming to us from across the pond, it is the digital art daredevil himself, Tom Drew. Tom, how you doing? How you feeling? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I was just saying off air, I guess. It's not gaming related, but I just watched Marty Supreme, like literally minutes before this podcast started. So I feel like I'm a bit on the run, maybe, a bit like chaotic, which maybe is a good sort of vibe going to Fallout. But no, I'm excited to talk about these episodes and excited to be here.
Next up, it is journalist extraordinaire, the Australian abroad / the Canadian in training, Lauren Rouse. Lauren, how you holding up? It is very cold up here above the 49th parallel. We'll get to the special guest TJ as well, but I'm sure it's even colder over there. How are we doing? You got the beanie on.
Yes, it is cold here, and the viewers can see that I have wet hair because I wanted to go out and see if it would freeze. But it's not cold enough here in Vancouver because I've been seeing these crazy videos with this polar vortex of people like throwing hot water and it turning into snow. And I was like, I wonder if I can do anything with that here. But no, it's not cold enough here. It's like 2 degrees.
No, where it might be cold enough, though, is over in Saskatchewan on the prairies, joining us live from, I think, Regina, Saskatchewan. I always mix up Regina or Saskatoon. Editor-in-chief at Agents of Fandom, Pokemon superfan, and fellow Canadian, most importantly, TJ Zwarych. TJ, how are you guys holding up? Because I think last I saw it was like supposed to be like minus 38, minus 37 there. That's cold. That's rough.
Yeah, well, firstly, I'm offended. You thought it was Regina. No, I'm in the good city here in Saskatchewan, and that is Saskatoon. We are way cooler. Our water tastes way better. But that's an aside. Can't tell you like just how often I went to Regina for basketball camps growing up, and then you go to their water fountains, and you're like, oh my gosh, what is this? And they just for some reason have terrible tasting water. But I am doing great. I'm so happy to be back on the pod. I have been just really deep into podcast mode lately where I'm working from home, and so at all times I've just been throwing something on. So I have been listening to every Controller Club episode recently, basically right after they drop. And so very happy to be hanging out with the three of you. My first time ever actually meeting Tom. And so that is very exciting as well. And I can't wait to chat about some Fallout with you guys. It's so cold that my brain froze and I forgot you asked me a question about how cold it was. And it's actually not that bad today. It's 21 or like minus 21 with like a minus 30 feels like with the wind chill. A couple days ago it was minus like 37 with a feels like temperature of minus 50.
Ooh, that doesn't sound
Lord.
fun. That does not sound fun. But that is how a lot of this country that we call home lives for most of the year. It gets quite cold, but right now there is, as he said, a polar vortex. A perfect time to bundle up, get under a blanket, pour yourself a nice hot cup of cocoa, and sit down and watch some TV because we're going to be talking about Fallout Season 2, Episode 5 and 6. We got a review today. I'm going to hand it over to the Vault Keeper, the head honcho of our Fallout coverage, Lauren Rouse. Lauren, take it away. Let's get into it. Fallout Season 2, Episodes 5 and 6.
All right, let's go. So, place your bets, Wastelanders. We are back for Fallout Season 2, Episode 5 and 6. And this time we're putting the chips down in New Vegas because we're finally in New Vegas. If you did miss our episodes 1 to 4 recap, we did that 2 weeks ago in episode 186. So go back, listen to that, then roll into this one if you haven't been keeping up. But before we get into it, because TJ, you're our first guest in these Fallout reviews, just want to know your history with Fallout. Do you have history with the games, with the show? And what do you think of the season so far? I know we chatted about it, the first episode on your podcast, just before Christmas, but how have you been going with it since then?
So I have never actually played a Fallout game before. It's one of the franchise that has just totally eluded me. And as the show was coming out, I thought like, hey, I'm gonna try and play one or two of these before I get there. And the timing of it just never really worked out for me. I wasn't sure which one I should go to. And I got overwhelmed with how many of them there was. And I probably just replayed The Witcher or something like that. But I wouldn't mind eventually getting into one. having said that, I'm really enjoying the show. First season wasn't something that like aggressively hooked me, where it was like, this is must watch, I need to finish it immediately. But it was in that like tier below it of, okay, I like this and I want to keep watching. And that's been mostly the second season as well. I feel a little bit more invested in most of the storylines this season than the first one, because it feels just a little bit more streamlined, with some of our characters like teaming up, being back together here. There are a couple of the storylines, like specifically like one of the vault ones, that every time it goes to it, I'm kind of looking at it and going, oh, all right, let's get back to the characters I care about here. But for the most part, I'm really enjoying season 2. And I think I watched the first episode and then I kind of let it slide for a couple weeks. But then I recently, literally, like, the reason I remembered to go back and binge is because I'm looking at my podcast feed. I see Controller Club covering episodes 1 to 4, and I realized, oh, I have only seen episode 1 and 2. I better go watch the next 2 so I can listen to my podcast. And so I went and I watched the next 2 episodes, and it re-hooked me. It re-got me back in. And episode 5 and 6 I've watched like right as they've been dropping, because I was very excited to see them. So slowly getting more and more invested in the Fallout world with each passing episode.
Yeah, happy to be the source of your inspiration to watch Fallout. Now, let's talk about 5 and 6. So, coming off 1 to 4, I think we were all invested, but maybe a little bit mellow on the season so far. So what are our like general spoiler-free impressions of these 2 episodes? I'll start right out the gate. I think these are the best 2 of the season so far. And I think it is because we are finally getting to the meat of the season. We're in New Vegas, this place that was promised for so long. And I think it's coming together pretty much in a similar way that season 1 was. And that was a great climactic finale in last season. So I think we're going to get the same here. But Tom, how are you feeling about them so far?
Yeah, I think I'd agree that I think these are probably the best 2 that we've had of the season so far, in terms of just like where the stories are progressing, some of the answers we're getting now up to this point, of some of the plot lines that are going on. I think overall I'm still a little bit like, there is so much going on in terms of like, there are a lot of plot lines, kind of what TJ was saying. There's so much like that they're jumping in between, especially because like you'll have a storyline show up in one episode and then it goes away for a bit and then it'll come back in a later episode. So it does feel like the show is kind of like juggling a lot, and sometimes that leads to, I guess, like, not even lack of investment, just but me just like being kind of thrown in terms of like, oh yeah, this is part of the season. I completely forgot that this was also going on. But I think similar to when we talked about this last like 2 episodes ago, I think there's really good stuff here. And I think after talking to you guys, I'll feel a bit better about these 2 episodes, because there is good stuff to be had in it. But in general, I just feel like, because there is so much going on, it kind of gets muddied a little bit. And I'm also a little bit worried, because we only have 2 episodes left of the season, how they wrap all of this stuff up, because of some of the concepts they're introducing in episode 6 in particular. But overall, still positive, but still, I think a little bit mixed overall.
What about you, Klein?
I'm very similar to Tom. I was last week or 2 weeks ago when we did talk about the first 4 episodes, asking for a powder keg. I needed a twist. I needed the story to really turn its engine on and get rolling. And in episode 5, I think we finally did get that. And we obviously get the big moment to end that episode, and then heading into episode 6. But in a vacuum, I think these are 2 of some of the best episodes of the series. They're the 2 best of the season. I think they might be 2 of the best in the first 2 seasons altogether. But looking from like a bird's eye perspective, I am starting to worry. We only have 2 more episodes left. Are we going to leave this season on a satisfying enough note to make it feel like this was worth it? Or was this whole season just table setting for an epic 3rd season? Because they are introducing a lot, and it seems every episode they're introducing 2 or 3 more things that feel like, okay, that's something that is going to need some like fairly thorough narrative exploration for me to get to a point where by the end of the season, I'm going to be sort of happy with the introduction of that storyline. Like, we have a lot of things going on and a lot of different parties, and maybe they do tie it all up in a nice bow and everything is interconnected in a way that makes sense, sort of like they did in the first season. So they could still surprise me. But right now, with only 2 episodes left, I'm starting to get a little like, was this just the appetizer for what's going to be like a big main course meal in season 3?
Potentially. TJ, you feeling the same as these two, or have you got a different perspective?
Slightly, I think. Well, actually, pretty much spot on, because these last 2 episodes really are the ones that started like gripping and hooking me, because they focused a lot more on Lucy and the Ghoul, and I think that is by far when this show is at its strongest. I think really, if it was Maximus, right? That's the other guy. If it was just Maximus, his story, Lucy, and then Lucy and the Ghoul story, and nothing else, like those were just the only 2 things that we were following in this show, I think it would be even stronger than it already is. And I feel a lot of that is evident by what we just saw in these last 2 episodes. It was mostly those 2 groups, and they were really, really good episodes.
For sure. All right, let's get into some of the plot details. So similar to last time, we'll kind of, because we are doing 2 episodes at once, we can kind of talk about the storylines across both episodes just to keep it streamlined. So yeah, let's talk about the main one, which is probably Lucy and the Ghoul, who begin together and then split apart in episode 6. But picking up from episode 4, we had the Death Claws come in. We get kind of a brief look at them, but they don't really get into battle with the Death Claws. They are very big and scary. It was exciting to see them. I'm sure that they are making a comeback at some point. But without being able to go through that entrance to New Vegas, Lucy and Ghoul head to Freeside. So we get to see Freeside, we get to see its inhabitants, which is a location from Fallout New Vegas. We see Lucy trying to wean herself off drugs, which was a fun storyline from the previous episodes. And we learn that behind her back, the Ghoul goes and makes a deal because Hank in the background has worked out how to use these mind control chips on the snake oil salesman, who just keeps popping up throughout Fallout. But I kind of love that he's now a bigger part of the plot. Anyway, so he has been using this guy to go and search for Lucy in New Vegas, and offers the Ghoul a deal, which the Ghoul takes, which is to give Lucy to her father in exchange for access to his wife and daughter, which is what he's been coming to New Vegas for, and has been searching for 200 years, basically. And that doesn't go down well with Lucy. So she punches him with I don't know what you call it, but it's like a big gauntlet, goes out the window, and he gets impaled on a pole. Pretty dramatic way to end the episode. What do you guys think of this? What were the moments that stood out?
Well, I think just in general, like I think the like you guys have all said, the Lucy and Ghoul stuff has been the strongest across these episodes, and I think especially the Ghoul and what Walton Goggins brings to the character specifically in these 2 episodes. I know we've got a lot of stuff like through the flashbacks that kind of flesh him out, but this is like, at least for me, I think like the first time we've really seen the Ghoul like super contemplative and kind of like really affected by some of the stuff that's happened in his past, and it's kind of catching up to him at this point, and he's kind of having to reckon with that. Like I like that scene in I think it's in episode 5 when he's in the bar, and it's Ibra, I think, from the Bear, and he's just like yappering on, and like the Ghoul just doesn't want to hear any of it because he just wants a quiet moment to like sort all the shit that's going on in his brain. So I think all of that stuff paired with the flashback stuff, which we'll get to in a minute, I think was really like strong, and the way it culminates in him getting impaled by a giant pole. I thought he was maybe done, but I guess ghouls are they're hardy beings. So no, I think this is definitely all the strongest part of these episodes, and it's always, I think that like Walton Goggins especially, he always brings it. He's such a strong performer across this show.
Yeah, I think that the pole moment is like, that's the moment of the season for me. Like, that was the kind of explosion that I'd been looking for. And when we get it, obviously, Tom, I'm there with you as the credits are rolling. I'm like rapidly Googling, what is the physiology of a ghoul? Is this going to kill him, and can it not? And they did a really good job at injuring him in a way where the question still remains, could he survive or not? Because ghouls can die. They can be killed if they are brutally maimed or like some very violent injury. And I would imagine getting a pole directly through your stomach would perhaps count as one of those, but maybe not. And obviously, we get an answer in season or in episode 6 as he just gruesomely tries to pull himself off of it. But I was really wanting some conflict, some explosion of conflict between those two characters of Lucy and Ghoul, and I'm glad that we got it in that way. And it really started to feel like, okay, these disparate elements that we've been dealing with for the last few episodes with Hank and these two, they're in New Vegas. These two are having these butting of heads, but they're never really boiling over to that extent. And now it's all coming intertwined, and Hank is involved in some way, and the Ghoul is there, and she pushes him out, and then boom, end like hard cut to credits. That is my favorite kind of TV. I love it when that just like those final few minutes of an episode really, really blow up like that. And so I was in I was in love with this moment particularly. I'm kind of here or there. I'm a little wishy-washy on whether I like that we immediately the next episode, like, he's off the pole, and there wasn't really a question of whether he was gonna live or die. But in the moment, I loved that they did that and put him on there.
It's such a terrifying type of, like, that pole was such a terrifying type of injury because it's like I kind of consider the Ghoul like Wolverine, right? Like, he's got this healing factor that's always going to help bring him back. Well, how do you mess up somebody with a healing factor? You give them an injury that can't heal. And every time it tries to heal, your body realizes, well, it's healing around a pole. And so maybe it starts healing around those moments. And then when you try and climb off, you're breaking everything open that just healed. Like, oh, it's just devastating stuff. And then to something Tom brought up before with the scene with Ibra from the bear, I love how often this show gives you a quick and subtle reminder that it's a video game adaptation. Whether it's like Lucy when she grabbed that little weapon, the fist thing that she pumped the Ghoul with, that she punched the Ghoul with, it was very much like, ooh, treasure chest, let's loot it quick. And so when they're reloading, it's very similar. This moment to me felt like when you're just trying to go, why do I have to be in this bar for this quest? Skip, 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 skip. And you're just skipping the dialogue options. That's what it felt like the Ghoul was doing in that conversation. And one thing I thought this episode did really well, and it is still a credit to this season as a whole, because I'm with you guys. It was kind of, especially started out very slow, too many storylines. But one thing that it is doing very well is the Lucy and Ghoul storyline. And I felt genuinely hurt when he turned on her. Like, I felt like, and credit to Ella Purnell, because a lot of that is every time she's on the screen, like, I just don't want any harm to come of her. She is perfect. I want things to go well for her at all times. But when it doesn't, like, I was shattered, and I get it. I get why the Ghoul's doing it. Like, he's doing all of this to find his daughter. But at the same time, I couldn't help but be like, damn, you are the worst. And so credit to specifically the Lucy Ghoul storyline. And when we get a lot of it, like this episode, they feel really, really strong because the chemistry that those two have together is incredible.
Can I ask a question? Do we think that these two are going to reconcile by the end of this? Or is this kind of like, oh, now we have another kind of two planes of action? They were separate before, they came together, and now we're going to get like the Ghoul storyline on top of the Lucy storyline, on top of the Maximus storyline, on top of the Hank storyline? Or are they going to, like, I don't know, kind of bring it back together by the end of the season? Because right now, by the end of episode 6, like, Ghoul's more or less off the board. Like, he's kind of out there somewhere.
Well, he's with Maximus and Thaddeus by the end of 6. So we know that those storylines have come together. I think I have a theory about this, which I was going to bring up probably at the end. So maybe we'll circle back.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
I do very much think that they're going to be reconciling at some point
between Ghoul and Lucy.
Between Ghoul and Lucy, because I think eventually down the road, Lucy will be helping raise the Ghoul's daughter.
Oh, so you think? Oh, okay. Okay. I thought there may be a chance at some point where they discover that the family is gone and there's some level of, like, in the post-apocalypse it's the family you make rather the family you have, and like
Mhm.
Lucy is more or less like his heart opens up to her a little more, and she's like kind of fills that void.
Well, I was very much along the lines of thinking that at the beginning. I was like, he is going to have to choose between her and and his family at some point. I think that could still happen, but then I was looking at it over these 2 episodes, and I think like I really felt for Lucy because she is such a sympathetic character, but she just has the best of intentions. She's been thrown into this world. She's found someone who she can maybe trust because the ghoul rescued her from the Legion, but then he keeps saying like, she was a means to an end, right? He needed to bring her to Vegas to get access to his family. So I wasn't entirely surprised when he did screw her over. But then it was such an interesting moment for her because she's not a violent person apart from obviously when she needs to be. And I think that was, this one person, this who she thinks she's found in the wasteland. And it's like he was never going to prioritize her. This has been his mission that's been keeping him alive basically for 200 years. She is like a blip in his timeline. And so I don't even think even the show has proven to us that they've got enough of a firm connection for him to be choosing her over anyone else. But I think we could maybe get there still by the end of the season, depending on how things go. But staying with Lucy, like heading into episode 6, she's been taken in by Hank to this facility in New Vegas. And she basically has now the option to do what she wants, which is to bring her dad to justice. And he just lets her because, he's clever. He knows how to manipulate her. And he basically lets her, he's like, sure, you do what you need to do. I think he's kind of grateful to see that the wasteland hasn't really changed her, that she's still sticking to these ideals that he instilled in her. And she gets to see what he's been up to, which is basically his success with these mind control chips he's created. He's been taking in people from the wasteland, turning them into like civilized human beings to create more chips. And that's basically the plan, is to like, or so it seems, is to turn all of the wasteland people into what the vault dwellers are, in these like with these unrealistic ideals, and to make them all no conflict and no violence and things like that. And we see that in action when she um wants to spare the life of these two, I think. Now, I wasn't quite sure about this. Had we seen those two guys before from the Caesar's Legion episode? Like, were we supposed to recognize them?
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so.
so. I think we're supposed to
Okay,
recognize them as Caesar's Legion people, but not
Yeah.
specific
Mhm.
people that we've seen before.
gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's
Well,
why I
yeah,
took
so
it.
she has the choice between, Hank's letting her do it. She's running the show, and she can choose whether to let them go or to press the button and turn them into these mind controlled zombies. And when she says to let them go, they just start fighting because that's what human nature is. That's what the wastelanders turned them into. And so in the end, she presses the button to make them part of the hive, and kind of has to reckon with this idea of like, maybe her dad's plan isn't the worst thing. So what do you guys think of this? Like, I am even kind of morally questioning whether Hank's plan is a bad one after seeing what the wasteland is like.
I was gonna say that's Fallout, baby. Like that is 100% what this franchise does. You want to talk TJ earlier saying these moments that feel like video games, like that is a Fallout video game choice. It's this, oh, I think I'm making the right decision, and it immediately comes back and bites you in the butt. Or you're making the decision, and then 15 hours later, it's like, oh, I thought that was the good decision, and it isn't. This world is now, it's not black and white anymore. It's all different shades of gray, and you don't know who's gonna like whether you make an allegiance over here, it's gonna come back and mess with you later down the road. And so I love this moment. I think Kyle MacLachlan in this season, I don't really remember him standing out to me in season 1. Season 2 has just been so much fun to be hanging out with him, and seeing his great work at work is like kind of fun to see. And then when we start leading into the flashback stuff, just I'm so excited to see how these things connect up and why everyone is doing the things that they're doing. And I think we're going to get answers to that by the end of the season. But just the Lucy coming back to him and him knowing that she is still this moldable piece of clay that he's formed in the vault, and she is this glass half full sort of human being. He knows that he can play with her, and he knows that he can, by saying, yeah, take me in, he doesn't genuinely believe that she's actually going to do it. And he has some other motives behind that. And so I loved this whole sequence. This is one of my favorite sequences of the whole season so far, and it's just a great like distillation of what this franchise is and can be.
Really hope Lucy kills her dad at some point. That's something I'm really hoping for. Is
I think she's going to. I do as well. I think she's going to kill him probably by the end of season 2. Like, I don't know if he comes back for a third
Really?
season. Yeah.
Okay.
that's kind of where I was leaning as well. And like Kyle MacLachlan's just so great in this like creepy dad role. You know, like he was that in one of my favorite shows of all time, Agents of Shield. And this is kind of like a different version. He's a little more in control of himself here, a little more maniacal, but he's really, really good at it because I just hate him always. Like I just love to hate him. And I really hope it kind of ends with something of like Lucy going back with the ghoul and them reuniting as a team and her eventually just taking her dad out because that's part of how the wasteland has changed her, and it's part of just because he's a terrible person. And so I too am really enjoying this storyline with the two of them, and I'm also really enjoying the flashbacks of getting Cooper Howard and her dad interacting with each other in the past life.
Well, so you guys think she's gonna have to? She's had to kill her mom, and now she's gonna have to kill her dad as well. That's brutal. Is she gonna have to
I
kill her
think so.
brother
I
in
think that
season
the
3?
end of this season is
Like,
leading to season 3 will be a different Lucy. Like, I have a feeling that we're coming to this. Like, we saw her punch Cooper Howard out of the out of the window. We've seen these little kind of
Yeah.
cracks in the armor since the beginning of season 1, since she left the vault. And killing her dad is going to be like, that is a watershed moment. Like, this is a new character. We are turning a page. And I think the okie dokie will always still be there within, but she is going to become a true wastelander by the end of this season, and killing her dad would be a pretty good way to like mark that distinction.
I think she's gonna have to kill her dad. I think the ghoul is gonna have to kill his wife, and I think the two of them are gonna raise the ghoul's baby.
Found family. I have a different theory, which I think I will share now. I think that will eventually happen. That she will have to turn on her dad, and Cooper will have to turn on his wife, depending on how that flashback storyline plays out. I think Lucy's getting a mind control chip to the neck by the end of the season. Like, I think she
Ooh.
is going to probably want to have to kill Hank, and he's going to be like, "You're too far gone," and has to plug her in. And then I just think it's too soon to wrap up Hank right now. I think he's still in it for at least another season. And yeah, I just thought it'd be super interesting if he realizes she has been changed, and the only way now to control her is like all the other Wastelanders with the chip to the neck.
I like
Well,
yours better.
That's an
Thank you.
interesting idea because I think like one of the fun things, and I think this is definitely one of the strongest parts of episode 6. I think it was a really fun sequence. Is just this kind of moral quandary that it like raises in terms of the mind control thing. Like, because yeah, Lucy ultimately chooses to mind control them so they stop fighting, but then it raises the question of like, well, as well, like the she opens the doors to or wants to open the doors. And it's like, okay, you guys are free to go, and they're like, well, we don't want to go. We want to stay in here. It's safe in here, and that raises the question of like, okay, they want to stay in here, but is that just the mind? Is that their own free will, and quote unquote, or is it just the mind control device putting thoughts in their head that makes them want to? So it's like this free will kind of debate, similar to what like Pluribus is doing in a way, similar like themes
Totally.
to that show, which is kind of
Even
interesting.
something like Severance, like, as well.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
There's a
I was
lot
just
of that
looking
like
blurred out for
thematic
this, and I
milieu
thought,
being
like,
used.
don't cut him off. Don't do it. Don't do it. And then as soon as you said it, I was like,
I think like I wonder if like the mind control thing with Lucy is interesting because I wonder if your option is interesting, Lauren, in terms of like whether Hank chooses to just give her the mind control device. But what if Lucy decides by her own free will, like, I'm gonna take the mind control device? She sees that like, okay, maybe this is the world as it should be because they're not fighting. There's no violence, and maybe that's
Or
the
is
decision.
talked into it. Like, I don't know if she's gonna
Yeah.
tomorrow be like, yeah, I want it. I could
No.
totally see Hank manipulating her into thinking that's something that she wants.
Exactly.
But I think it plays more to Hank's character if, like we've seen what happens when people go against him, particularly the women in his life. His wife goes and takes the kids. he blows up Shady Sands. If Lucy goes against him, I could easily see him being like, well, I'm just going to force this on you because you're mine. Whereas I just can't see Lucy ever willingly take it. She's so into free will and independence that, I mean, it could happen, but yeah, I think I feel that like that's where we're going in some way, though, is that somebody's getting that chip to the neck, and I think it's her. Let's talk a little bit about the rest of the Ghoul storyline, and we can go back into the flashbacks as well. So we do get a bit of pre-war New Vegas through Cooper Howard's eyes. He and Barb go there, and because we know Cooper's working with Moldaver, and she's given him this task to go and get Cold Fusion and to take out Robert House, but he just he doesn't want to take out House, so he's like, I'll go and suss out the Cold Fusion instead. So we get a look at Vegas in its kind of high time before the war. We get these great interactions between Cooper Howard and Robert House. We get the reveal that House has been using body doubles, which was kind of the theory. He has Rafi Silver, the actor, as his face in the public, and because he's super, super paranoid. So he just sort of lives up in his tower and watches everybody and is a big conspiracy theorist. He has all these algorithms figuring out when the world is going to end, and for some reason Cooper Howard seems to be the one thing that keeps changing things when he gets involved in the narrative, and he's trying to figure that out. What do you guys think of this reveal, and also the interactions between Cooper Howard and House? Justin Theroux and Juan Goggins, they are famously friends in the background, and I just thought they had such good chemistry. They almost had chemistry as well, which was kind of interesting. So yeah, anyone want to jump in?
I think just they, like you said, they have such good chemistry. Their scenes are so electric. I think these are probably easily my favorite parts of the season so far. Just their interactions are so good. I think Justin Theroux plays this character so well, and even Rafi Silver is the two kind of sides of his persona, where it's the front man pretending to be Robert House, and then when he's in the meeting with him and he's just smoking a cigarette and he's just a regular guy basically. I think that's a really fun dynamic too. But yeah, I think that all of this stuff in terms of House basically trying to predict all of this stuff and having this device that brings predictions and how that connects to Cooper and Barb and Janie and stuff. I think that's all really compelling. I think what this show or this season's done super well is making these all these characters you expect to be villains. At first, you just see where they're coming from. You see their motivations. I thought it was really interesting when House is talking about this kind of third party, and we can talk about who that seems to be in a bit. But all of that stuff, and it really twisted my expectations of what I thought House was kind of going for in this season. And yeah, I really like that. I just really like this dynamic that they showed through their relationship in that episode.
It's honestly, I think, a bit of a surprise how much we've all loved the flashback stuff, because coming off of season 1, the flashback stuff was cool, and they did a great job of moving ahead the Fallout, the TV show story, by way of these flashbacks. I think it's season 2, as a Fallout game fan, something that I've been super interested in is they're almost adding layers to the game lore more so than this is feeling way more embedded in the game universe than season 1 ever did. Even though we knew season 1, it takes place in the game universe, we know that this is something that's happening in canon. It's happening alongside these other stories that we've seen. This is very much giving us a setup of hey, these Cooper Howard interactions, this New Vegas stuff, all these corporations coming in and doing that. We are recontextualizing the actual events of the game as we know them. And we don't really get a lot of that in the games, because the games you're an active participant in. You can't do a flashback to before the bombs drop. You always get the same war never changes intro at the beginning. But other than that, it's very much you're in the wasteland, exploring the wasteland. So this is such a fun idea for this franchise to be able to hey, we're going to give this universe, we're going to finally answer some of these questions that fans have had for a long time and do the origin story sort of thing. But we're going to do it by way of this TV show that also happens to take place in the wasteland, just using the medium to your advantage. And I think that's really smart and such a fun, cool idea. And we've talked about it many times in the relation to Fallout, but it adds a new layer to that whole idea of what a different kind of adaptation of like a game franchise can be, and what makes these different things great, whether it be this or a very just like one-to-one thing like The Last of Us, or a complete new story that is like outside of the canon, kind of like Arcane. Like there's these three kind of different camps you can fall into, and we're kind of seeing the benefits of all of them, and this is just a fun extra little wrinkle that we get to add into with Fallout here.
I've been thinking about that as well, because it does feel quite unique that it's like they're so invested in explaining how this world came to be, whereas the games are so much about experiencing the world as it is. And I do wonder, when you think about it, we're in the past a lot. Like all the plot points sort of relate to something in the past. We're yet to see a lot of what's happening in the now with the characters, and I think definitely this season we're leaning more into the past. And I think by the end we need to be leaning more into the future. Like, let's see how these things, let's do the reveals, let's do the explanations, but like let's see how that's impacting people now. What's Cold Fusion doing now? Like what is House doing now? And those sorts of things. So I've been enjoying it, to kind of learn about the layers of this world and how things came to be. But I'm concerned a little bit that they are relying on that too much. Like, what does Fallout Season 3 say when they don't have to explain everything that's happened in the past?
I think that might actually go to what you guys were talking about a little bit earlier, how with only 2 episodes to go, this is looking like a little bit of a setup season of just getting everything in place for, like Klein said, a main course. If this is the appetizer, we're going to get the main course of like go, go, go as soon as we get to season 3. I kind of wonder if season 2's, big mystery, big story is just what happened to the world. How did we actually get here? What were the final? Who pulled the trigger? Who pressed that button that blew everything the hell up? And then season 3 will be the moving forward. I think we could probably see all of our characters, like you said, with maybe a Lucy in the chip, or the ghoul trapped with the bad guy, or maybe the ghoul just finally reviving his wife and kid, but he just had to do something really terrible right before it. And I think it might be a case of we are dropping our characters to their lowest point by the end. We found out the mystery. Our characters are at their lowest point, and now we are just going to climb the hill in season 3.
Because the question was, even in season 1, was who dropped the bombs, and we thought we knew. And now the question is, but who really dropped the bombs? And maybe we'll find out. And then will season 3 be, actually, it was these guys who dropped the bombs? I'm like, we get it. The bombs were dropped. Let's move on.
It's a really good point. I feel like I'm good with it if it is like that was the 2-season arc. Now the next 2-season arc is, like you said, building towards the future.
Well, just to wrap up that past storyline, and kind of with the ghoul storyline as well, the House does sort of mention that there is this unexplained third party who might be involved. That's not Vault Tech. That's not Robco. And we kind of get that tying in with what's happening with the ghoul in the present. So the ghoul is saved from the pole by a mysterious person. He is taken back to a lair, and we find out that he's been rescued by everyone's favorite Ron Perlman. He finally makes his debut in the show. He is a super mutant, which he doesn't really say, but fans of the games know that that's what he is these kind of, they call them abominations. And he drops a mention of the Enclave, which is what we sort of assume is what created these super mutants. As someone who's not too like up to date on the Fallout lore, I'm sort of taking what the show is giving me. But Klein, maybe you can share some insight on what all of this means.
Yeah, so the Enclave, I'll start with a just very quick theory. When Mr. House, Robert House, talks about this mysterious third party, I immediately kind of turned my head to it potentially being the Enclave, and this mention later in episode 6 kind of confirms that for me. The Enclave is essentially a pre-war organization, a group of all of these, think of them like an Illuminati of the Fallout universe, all of these government officials, high-ranking officials who want to reform and refashion the world in their own vision. They're not in the Fallout universe, as far as we know, responsible for dropping the bombs, but there are theories that they were involved some way. After the bombs drop, the Enclave kind of like disappears a little bit, but then resurfaces way later down the line as this group of people who are very much like, okay, like we need to continue the vision of forging our own destiny. And so they are the these descendants mostly of rich and famous and government officials and military officials who are now like, if you are not with us, you are against us. And they will, if you are not an Enclave member, you are considered genetically lesser than, and you're essentially considered a mutated being. And so they will kill you just like they will kill a mutant and a super mutant. And a lot of people think they're responsible for all the super mutants in the world. There's even some connections between them and Robco, and them in the creation of the Death Claws, maybe, and them and the Forced Evolutionary Virus, which was something I brought up on last podcast. So the Enclave, it hasn't appeared in a Fallout game since, I think, Fallout 3. So it's been a little while, but to make them kind of this, like, I don't know, the Fallout universe answer to Hydra sort of deal, like this like kind of thing that's been pulling the strings in the background, makes a lot of sense to do. And it is something that, like, for really since the franchise started, has kind of been like leaning towards, but has never outright said. So I think it would be very exciting if that's where we're going. And if that's where we're going, I think that's what season 3 is. I think we get the answer at the end of this. They're responsible for all of it. Boom, Civil War is going to break out. And now we're going to have the Brotherhood of Steel fighting the Enclave. The Enclave is going to come and show up. We're going to have Ghoul and Lucy and everyone. And I think that specifically in Hank's work and this mind control device and stuff like that, I have a feeling all of this stuff, all of these experiments are going to come back to tie into the Enclave somehow. And now that they're starting to fail, the Enclave is going to like make themselves known and come and start throwing punches.
There's a lot there. This is where it's like hard to talk about individual storylines because they are all coming together. Like we had Norm uncovering the Forced Evolutionary Virus and it's linked to the vaults. We have Ghoul meeting a super mutant, and it seems like the super mutants are they want to fight back. And interestingly, so did the Enclave, are we assuming that they're responsible for creating super mutants and ghouls?
No, because ghouls are kind of as far as I know, and I'm not like a deep Fallout lore person, ghouls are almost a byproduct of the bombs being dropped themselves. They're just like
Right.
people who have been exposed to a significant amount of radiation to the point that their genetic DNA has like changed, making them turning into human cockroaches, essentially making them impervious. Whereas a super mutant was somebody who was actively like, or at least at some point was actively like experimented upon. And then obviously they go out into the wild, they do their thing, more super mutants show up. But in its origin, the super mutants are different from ghouls in that they are like, a human had a hand in creating them, whereas I don't think ghouls necessarily did. I think ghouls are just more like irradiated beings.
Gotcha. Okay. Because the other key part to this story is we have seen the Enclave before, like Wilzig from season 1, who was oh my god, I'm forgetting his name. That guy from Person of Interest.
That guy from
That
Person of
guy.
Interest.
That guy.
Michael
Oh my
Emerson?
god. Michael Emerson. Yeah, that's him. We saw him in very early in season 1. He was, training dog meat, and he was the one who's like told Lucy, "You're gonna have to take my head to Moldaver," and that's when he died. But we see him in the flashbacks interacting with Bob at Vault Tech. Any thoughts on this interaction and what it could mean?
It's playing into my Enclave theory. Like this is last season, as you said, Lauren, it was all about, okay, Vault Tech dropped the bombs. Like it was them. They did it. But now we're getting these wrinkles of like, no, someone else came in and said, you need to essentially take the fall for this. And he doesn't say, like, they don't say it's the Enclave. They don't say it's anyone. It's just kind of a mysterious third party. They're talking about all the experiments being done in the vaults and that sort of thing. But like, who in this universe would have the power to do that? It's the same people that would have the power to do that in this universe. A group of highly powered, like, military government officials who don't have any checks and balances behind them coming in and being like, we are going to manipulate this. We have given you guys free reign as scientists to do whatever you want, but this is what we need from you. And so I think that this is 100% the Enclave. I think that's where we're headed, and I'm very excited about it.
So do we think that because Norm showed up, I think, in 5, I don't think he showed up in 6, but he's out there with the reanimated Vault Tech people, and he discovers that FEV is forced evolutionary virus. Do we think that the Enclave is the one responsible for all the experiment, like the Vaults being all experiments? If it seems that they're creating super mutants and death claws and all of that, could they also be the hand that was like, and we're going to turn every Vault into an experiment as well?
I think if because of the moment with Wilzig and Barb, like that sort of influence happening, I can see them, yeah, like having a like they have fingers in every single pie, like and they're kind of influencing all sorts of aspects of the Fallout universe. And I think, yeah, I think the Force evolutionary virus fits into that as well, probably. It seems like too much of a coincidence that all of these things seem to be aligning to this like third party being the Enclave, and then having control over these things in general. So I think probably. My question is like whether we've seen well in the first season Barb, it's kind of played as a reveal that like she's offering the kind of um the option of dropping a Voltec dropping the bombs. But this moment with Wilzig almost makes it seem like could this potentially redeem her in that she's just doing this to protect Janie and I guess Cooper if she actually is being truthful and wanting to protect her family. So do we think that Cooper how do we think Cooper feels about Barb now, knowing that potentially that she's being influenced or was forced to do this almost? Do we think he like has forgiven her in a way?
So in this series of episodes, it's funny you bring that up. There's a moment between Lucy and Hank that I forget. It's not in the past. It must be when they first meet. It's in episode 6. They talk about the book. What are they reading? All Quiet on the Western Front, which is very much a book about World War I and specifically German troops going to war and not necessarily knowing what they're fighting or knowing that they're fighting for a what I would say like as a member of the bad guys, just as a general. What a perfect, if that is where we're going, Tom, if like we are leading to this like these Vault Tech people, like they are just maintaining the company line. They're just saying yes, they're just doing, they don't know they're the bad guys. Like that's symmetry. Like that's exactly what this kind of All Quiet on the Western Front story is about. And I think that's like, I think all these nuggets are in there for us to find and for us to be like, yeah, this is what's happening.
It could also be the case that like Barb knows that the world's going to end at some point. So she's just trying to do her best to get her, Cooper, and Janie into the management vault that will let them survive. And she's just kind of willing to do anything to do that. And even though Cooper can come in with being like, wow, that's a really horrible ethical stance, she's right when she's like, well, wouldn't you do it? Like, everyone's in it for themselves in this world.
Well, yeah, it's all easy to say you would be noble and do these things until it comes knocking at your door.
Yeah,
exactly. And like whenever he's talked about it, he's like, well, I gotta find my wife and my daughter. So maybe the reason is because like he does genuinely want to make sure she's okay, rather than him wanting to kind of I guess reprimand her for being the one to so yeah, I think it's just interesting to see that potential reunion come to fruition.
The biggest part of that for me that kind of struck me was I felt like she was irredeemable. You can't be doing that stuff. It's terrible. I don't like it. But specifically seeing the scene where the guy was like, if it's not you, there will be somebody else here in 30 seconds filling your spot. And so that that kind of completely changed my perspective to, would I do a terrible thing that would kill thousands of people to keep my family safe? No, absolutely not. I would take the L and just, I guess that's the end of my life. It's over. I can't kill that many people. But what if it doesn't matter if it's you or not? Because it's going to happen immediately after regardless. Now do you save your family? Well, shit. Yeah.
That's a Fallout choice right there.
You have to, because it's going to happen no matter what. So the only difference is, do you stay with your family or not? Like it's really a terrifying experiment, like thought experiment.
Yeah, they're really getting to the big questions now, which is great because we are getting towards the end of the season. We've got a couple of disparate storylines to just touch on. So back still in the past, when we have this sort of almost reconciliation between Barb and Cooper, we do have this scene where Cooper gets Hank drunk, drugs him, and then tries to figure out what's in the briefcase locked to his hand. And it's the syringe thing that injects the chip or removes the chip for cold fusion. So this was pretty interesting. I was curious why Hank had the key to cold fusion. Any theories on this?
Is he working for who he says he's working for? Like that's the only thing that we talked about this last time with the first 4 episodes. It's like he says he's Vault Tech, but is he? Like who?
I feel like he's for House, right?
Right? Like, is he working for House? Is he some other party? I think we're going to get that because we have been getting little like seeds of him in the past, kind of, I don't know, seeming easily manipulatable. And somebody could take advantage of that. And I think we're going to get like answers to that very soon.
He kind of seemed to me like still early on, almost like a little happy-go-lucky Lucy-ish, where like very naive, nothing, I'm doing the right thing because this is what I've always been supposed to do. And so to me, it kind of seemed like the reason he had it wasn't because this is some trustworthy, powerful being, as much as this is a good soldier and I can inject this thing in his neck and he's going to be like, great, I'm in.
Yeah, that seems about right. I think I do wonder, like, that we have this almost crossover with Hank and Cooper in the past, and I wonder how that. Did we get much of any of that, like, between them in season 1, like in the finale? Like, did they kind of recognize each other or anything like that?
Oh, I don't
Is
think
there
he did
anything?
recognize him. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He
So
didn't
I wonder if
recognize him as
that,
the ghoul.
yeah. So I wonder if that comes back, whether Cooper, like, because obviously they make the deal in episode 5, but I wonder if there's more to that that we're gonna get of that potential connection, and whether that comes back into play in terms of like how Cooper feels about Lucy, because he knew her dad in the past and that sort of thing. So I think that is what's kind of most interesting to me in that moment, is that like this is kind of deepening that like connection between Cooper and the McClanes even further back than we kind of previously thought.
Yeah, and we now know that cold fusion relic in the present, Maximus and Thaddeus have it. We didn't really get much from the Brotherhood of Steel at all in these 2 episodes, just that they're on the run now. They don't really know what to do with this thing, and then they're sort of brought to the ghoul by Dogmeat at the end. So next 2 episodes, we're going to have that as a trio, which is quite interesting.
Remind me, was Hank like just recently defrosted or something? How is he still alive?
He was defrosted, but 20 or so.
Yeah, 20
years.
years.
No, wait, because
okay. How like
he was in the management vault.
Yeah, and it had to be long enough for him to have birthed and raised Lucy.
And he became the overseer.
Yeah.
Because they were just unfrosting them like one at a time to run the vaults over many years, and I think he was just the latest of that.
Right.
To do that. So it's probably been like 20, 25 years.
Yeah, I forgot the process of like when he popped out and like why is he still kind of the same, like slightly older kind of thing.
Well, then how did Wilzig survive as well? This is interesting. Is it still the same Wilzig? Did he have a clone? I don't know. There's lots of theories flying around about him.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. But yeah, I think the with the ghoul and Thaddeus and Maximus, I think that's going to be a fun pairing, because it seems like none of them want to be with each other in that final moment. I think that's kind of fun. So similar to what you guys are saying, like whether we do see a reconciliation between Ghoul and Lucy, I think we'll definitely see them. That collision's definitely coming, but I wonder if they do like mend that, or if they'd leave things a little bit broken between the two of them to kind of propel like a potential season 3 going into it. But I think in the meantime, this is going to be, especially Maximus like blabbering, Thaddeus, blabbering on, like, because he's just such a goofy character. The ghoul's probably going to get pissed off pretty quickly.
All right, last storyline to touch on, and I feel like TJ, this is the one that maybe you're hinting at as being the least interesting, but we are still in the vault. We've got a couple of things going on. Quite a lot going on in the vaults for the lack of main characters down there. But anyway, we've got the whole thing going on with Steph and Chet. Turns out she's just announced they're getting married for some reason. We don't really know why. We have the inbreeding support group being shut down because they have too many snacks. And yeah, then we have Betty trying to deal with the water chip still by shutting down this group. Any thoughts on this? It was kind of, this is the storyline where I'm like, I don't know what we're doing. I have no idea how this connects. I don't know why we're here.
The only thought I have with the marriage potentially is that we saw Steph had the Canadian kind of ID card. I wonder if their marriage kind of legitimizes her position in America or something. I don't know if that's like something that would happen because of that. I just don't see what other reason, like, why they would need to get married, or if it's just like smoke and mirrors and maybe she's just covering for something or something else. But yeah, it does feel like this at this point, it does feel like this storyline is like the most inconsequential. I mean, it's that scene in the support group where like I forget his name. I should learn his name, but the guy is like playing the piano and he thinks like everyone's like having a
Reg?
great time, they're dancing. Sorry, was that
I think his name's Reg.
Reg?
Oh, is
There you
Reg
go.
the other
Yeah.
one? Oh, I don't know.
One of them. But yeah, like he's like playing the piano and everyone's like having a good time in his head, and then you look around and everyone's just like miserable, kind of just standing around. Which I thought it was a fun moment. But yeah, it does feel like I hope this does lead somewhere, because at the moment it does feel like we're kind of treading water a little bit in terms of the vault stuff, just to keep it kind of part of the show.
I'm a little interested in the Steph stuff just because that kind of seems like an actual legitimate mystery that could come back and impact the rest of the show. Every time they go to the inbreeding support group, I'm just like, why the hell are we here?
What are we doing?
Yeah. I don't know. The only thing I can think of is that we don't know what the experiment was in those vaults. And I just wonder if it's something to do with that. I'm not really sure. I don't know why inbreeding would be an experiment.
That's how
but
you
I
get a
don't.
death claw eventually.
Yeah, I just don't know if they want us to be invested with them for some reason.
Maybe
this is
it
their way
makes
to
them
do that.
like more influenceable. I don't know.
Yeah. It's weird.
Weaker gene pool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
honestly.
potentially.
Right. Well, those are pretty much all the storylines in those first two episodes. Any final thoughts? I'm going to share one theory that kind of only just came up with in this since we've been talking. But I did notice that, with the super mutant talk, he said that, they call us abominations, which kind of linked to the Enclave and stuff. And I noticed that Elder Quintus from Brotherhood of Steel, also called ghouls abominations. And I just thought that was an interesting link. It could mean nothing, but I am sitting here wondering whether Quintus is actually an Enclave spy who is set up in the Brotherhood, and that's why he wants Civil War to like take over the Eastern chapter, because the Eastern chapter is the biggest threat to the Enclave. Like, they're constantly at war. So I wondered if he was secretly there trying to destabilize the Brotherhood for the Enclave, but it could also mean nothing.
What have we also seen him like absolutely despise? Just anything mutated, like anything, even just the littlest bit. And so wouldn't surprise me if we get some like reveal that, oh, the Enclave is embedded in one or maybe even more of these factions that we've met.
I like that. It adds to the Hydra of it all. I think that's a really good call.
Awesome. Well, if no final thoughts, we'll be back in 2 weeks with episode 7 and 8.
Couple weeks and then it's done, and we already have season 3 confirmed, and production is going to start soon, so we probably won't have to wait too long to get answers to the questions we have coming out of these last few episodes. Thank you so much for doing that, Lauren. Now, before we get out of here, let's get into what we've been playing. TJ, you teed it up before we actually got on the pod today. You've been playing a couple of games, one of which you finished at the recommendation of Lauren and I. So let us know, what have you been playing over the last little while?
Yeah, so the last one was Cyberpunk 2077, and it admittedly took me a while to get used to it and get into it, just because I'm not really a big fan of first-person view games. And so it took me a while to fully buy in, but the story was just so good that I couldn't help it. Like, I was hooked. As soon as I got past kind of like the prologue-y stuff, I was just immediately hooked. I played the DLC, at which I'm very thankful, Klein, that you said, hey, download this first. Do it before you start playing so that you can actually go through it at the proper point in the story instead of going back and returning. And I did, and it was so cool. Like, there is there are so many wonderfully talented voice actors, so I would never want games to just be like celebrity exclusive. But there is something really cool about us, just like, oh, I'm hanging out with Keanu Reeves and Idris Elba, and they look like themselves. It's cool. It's really cool. It's really fun. I had a blast playing it. I completed it, and no, if you don't want any spoilers for Cyberpunk, then pause for a sec, fast forward, earmuffs, whatever, what have you. But I made it to the end, and I decided, I was really trying to decide to, like, I wanted Johnny to have a little bit of a sacrifice and go like, V, I don't care how much time you have left. This is your life. We're doing it for you. And so I tried to go back and let it be V. And then she keeps being like, she kept pushing me. She kept stopping me every time I tried to go that direction and pushing me towards letting Johnny live. And so I caved. I caved and I went back and I let Johnny live on in her body. But I kind of do wish I took a little bit of a different storyline and didn't do the Johnny and Rogue route. I went the Johnny and Rogue route, and I
Right.
wish I would have.
Which life path were you?
I was city kid, street kid.
Okay.
Yeah, and so did that one. I went far enough with what was her name, Panam, that I could have had her and her crew join me, and then I would have been able to retire afterwards. And I googled it, and I would have had my girl Judy along with me. But I think I would have rathered that one. And V just has like a shortened life, but kind of a happy ending. But I went the Johnny and Rogue one, and it's a great game. I'm really happy that you guys recommended it to me. I had a blast. And after that, I started playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is my very first Assassin's Creed game I've ever played. And it is very fun diving into one of these games after having played so many others and looking at it and realizing, oh, this is the blueprint, isn't it? This is the blueprint for all of the different games that I've loved. The Witcher 3s, the Red Dead Redemptions, the all of these different open world games that choices impact what you're doing, all of them that I love, they came from Assassin's Creed, didn't they? And I have like the Ghost of Tsushima is like, it's kind of that same type of game, and I'm having so much fun with the Odyssey coming out later this year, and having just covered every episode of Percy Jackson season 2. I'm just so into Greek stuff right now, Greek mythology, and so really, really enjoying Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Just killed my dad, like Lucy is going to, and having a real good time with it.
What was it about
Have you
Odyssey that drew you in? Was
Yeah.
it specifically just like you have the Greek stuff on the mind? You're like, oh, I can go and live in this period.
Yeah, so I downloaded the most recent 3 that were available on PS Plus, and so I did Odyssey, Valhalla, and whatever the second most recent one is, I think. But
Oh, Mirage.
yeah, and so I downloaded those 3, and just based on looking at them, Greek, I've always been pretty into Greek mythology, and then I'm in the moment for it. But then I also saw that was the oldest of the group, and so I thought, okay, I was originally thinking maybe I'll just get to that one, but as soon as I saw that was the oldest of the ones that I downloaded, it made me want to go that one first, and then as soon as I'm done that, I can go to the more recent and have them kind of get, I mean, if not get better with just like how the stories are, get newer and maybe a little smoother.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what you think if you do eventually get to Mirage, because it's a very different kind of Assassin's Creed game. It's much more classic Assassin's Creed, like Assassin's Creed after Syndicate, I guess. Would the English one
Well, like,
kind of took a
because Odyssey
break.
was the first one that was open
No, it was
world and
Origins.
RPG.
When they went kind of like
Oh, okay.
in Egypt,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
went way back and they blew it up, and it was so much bigger. It was a big open world, and the other ones were open world, but they were much more like checklisty and very Ubisoft. You find the tower, you do the thing, and they felt quite a bit smaller and were less action oriented. They were way more stealth, and you're slinking in the shadows, and
Yeah.
Mirage kind of wanted to harken back to that. But Odyssey is so much fun.
It's the
I
best.
really liked my time with Valhalla, but both those games, you're going to be in there. If you want to see and do everything, you will be. That's the next like couple hundred hours of your life. So be ready for that.
100%. It has been because it's just so vast. It's actually been a lot easier for me to go, like things with Cyberpunk and games like The Witcher and Red Dead Redemption. I just found myself being like, okay, I'll play for a half hour, and it's been 4 hours because I want to do the next thing, and now I want to do the next thing. Because this is so big and it takes so long to progress, it's a lot easier to just play for 30 minutes and turn off.
Oh yeah, and there's so many little things you can do. It's like, oh, I'm going to go and find. I know they aren't sea shanties in that game, but the equivalent of the sea shanties from the Pirates of Assassin's Creed. You're like, I'm gonna go find this thing, and oh, there's a little challenge over here I'm gonna go do, or oh, there's a memory I can go and unlock. They did a great job of like sprinkling the world with just these little enough things that if you do have 30 minutes, you can go in, but if you also have 10 hours, you can spend 10 hours doing stuff in there as well.
I've never played a game like this that has so much action where it's so hard to heal yourself.
Oh
Where
yeah.
you essentially have like the one ability you can grant yourself, and that is your only way of healing in a battle. That gets hard when you're trying to fend off like dozens of people at once. But I think my only qualm, and it's barely a qualm because I could fix it. I could go into the options and controls button and fix it and adjust it, and I'm just too lazy to do it. But I just really don't like the control layout. Like, I don't like that quick attack is R1 and
Yeah.
strong attack is R2.
It's the
I'm way
very
used to my
Soulsy
X's
thing,
and my
the
O's
light
and
and
my
heavy
squares.
attack on the triggers and the bumpers.
Yeah. Like, I legitimately, like, I'm getting like some like little blisters
Oh,
and red marks on my hand from just like the way I've had to play this game.
intense gaming. It's no joke, guys. This
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
serious
injuries
stuff that we're
here.
doing
Injuries.
over. God.
Anyone else want to shout out what we've been playing over the last little while?
Not too much, to be honest. I've done a couple more Hades runs. Still tinkering away at that. It's still very difficult going on topside, but we'll get there. We'll get there one day, I think.
Very quick Hollow Knight Silksong update. Found out that I've been playing the game. I'm coming up towards the end of, I guess, Act 2, which is the end of the game that most people see. Discovered that there's damage upgrades in the game, and I had not been getting them at all. And so boss fights that should have taken me like 15 minutes were taking me literally an hour to beat. And the game is now quite, I don't want to call it trivial, but there were enemies before that I would be like, why is this so hard? Where I'm like one-shotting them, and it's just unfair. But here we are. We live and we learn. Let's get into the comment corner. Tom, any comments this week? I see we have one from one of TJ's good friends, Ryan Cortero.
Yeah, we do. So yeah, I'll shout Ryan's comment here, and he says, "Putting Fable as my top pick for a fantasy critic draft (brackets hoping it still comes out this year). Hopefully, as long as it, I guess, doesn't get delayed and get scared off by GTA 6. But honestly, that's a good shout after the Xbox showcase we had this past week. We didn't get to talk about it today, but I'm sure we'll talk about it a bit more. But Fable looks good, so I'm hopeful
And
for that pick.
whose team is that on?
Whose team is that on?
I
I
don't
don't think I.
Lawrence.
It's
It was like,
mine.
it was literally, was it
Okay.
your last pick?
Yeah, it's crazy that we didn't pick it up earlier.
It was
Having now
such a
seen
big
it.
question mark. It was such a big question
Yeah.
mark. TJ, did
Yeah,
you get a
really
chance to see any of this stuff from the Xbox Developer Direct this week?
No, but Fable's been all over my social media feed since that direct happened. Like, it's been, I hadn't heard of this game prior to a couple days ago, and it's been kind of all encompassing on my feed recently. So definitely something that looks like it'll be my vibe.
You just describing your kind of perfect TJ game of a world where you get to make choices and go in. This looks right up your alley, sir.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. Like, I'm very excited for it. The choice factor is so big for me. Like, I think it was one of the reasons why I'm with Lauren. I think Dispatch was my game of the year in 2025 because I love that kind of storytelling so much.
Yeah, Dispatch coming out on Nintendo Switch 2 this week, I think. It's on pre-order, and it's on the way, so I'm going to be playing it very soon. So I'm very excited to see and check it out. But we have one more comment here from at Nobic123, and this was on a reel about Klein's crazy prediction / theory that Jacob Elordi is the lead star in Hideo Kojima's Fizzant. But Nobic maybe agrees, and they say, that's a great shout, actually. I hope you're right. So we'll see. Wuthering Heights coming out in a couple weeks here. Maybe someone in the press talk can get this prediction over to Jacob Elordi ASAP. But yeah, thanks for your comments, guys.
This week's comment corner question of the week is Fallout 2 living up to, or Fallout Season 2 living up to the hype? You can let us know in the comment section here on YouTube or over on your podcast feed of choice. Also, while you're at it, follow the show. We're at Controller Club Pod on Instagram and Blue Sky, at Controller_Club on Twitter, and at Controller.Club on TikTok. If you are listening to the show, we do a video podcast each and every week over on the YouTube channel, so please head on over there, ring the bell, thumbs up, subscribe. It really helps us out, and rate and review us wherever you're listening as well. We're battling the algorithm, and we got to do everything we can to come out on top. TJ, thank you so much for joining us again. It's always a pleasure getting to chat with you, whether it's here, whether it's over on Reckless Rebellion, whether it's at Agents of Fandom. I love hopping on that show. Where can people keep up with all the wonderful work that you're doing each and every day, and what do you have going on in your life?
At Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom on all the other socials. We are on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, and agentsoffandom.com. We've had we had a bit of a dry spell on the website from a writing standpoint, but a lot of really interesting stuff lately. Broke down all the top anime of 2025, most anticipated shows and movies list for 2026. I just dropped my Wonder Man review, and that's the next thing we're going to be talking about on the podcast as well. I have some interviews dropping with Andrew Guest, the showrunner, EP, head writer of Wonder Man, and that was really cool doing research for that one because I realized oh wow, he did a bunch of writing on Community and a bunch of writing on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and it was really cool to talk to him about that. That'll be coming soon. We'll be talking Wonder Man. Then February, March is going to be nuts because that's when, shout out Ryan Cortero he was just on the comment corner. Him and I, as well as our guy Jam, we will be hosting a podcast for Paradise Season 2, which is dropping on Disney Plus in a couple months. Then we'll be doing Daredevil Born Again, and oh wow, why am I blanking? There's one more in March, one more big show.
Yellow, Blue, come on, Steven Yeun.
Invincible, thank you.
Go.
And Invincible. Those are we're going to be covering all three of those at the same time. So really, really big next couple months, really big 2026. So yeah, Agents of Fandom everywhere. Check us out.
Tom, where can people keep up with you, and what do you have going on?
You can find me at Tom Jewart, Instagram, Blue Sky, basically everywhere on the internet. I've got some more Pokemon card art, I guess. Basically can't afford a lot of cards right now, so I'm just drawing them myself. So if you want to see what's in the works, I drew Grimmsnarl, who's maybe not like a fan favorite Pokemon necessarily, but I like him. I like Grimmsnarl. So if you want to check out some art of him, check out my socials, Tom Jewart. TJ also mentioned Wonder Man. I'll shout out Wonder Man. I watched the first, not all the episodes, and it's a good show, so check it out when it comes out.
Tom, when is the Controller Club crew going to get a Tom Drew original Pokemon card design? I want to see what powers you would give Lauren and I.
I don't want to make any promises, but we've got episode 200 coming up, so...
Oh, there we go.
We'll see. We'll see.
Lauren, what do you have happening in your life, and where can people find it?
You can follow me at lrouse19 on the socials. Rouse is in-house. I don't have anything. I'm just vibing.
We love that.
Cool.
We love that. You can keep up with me everywhere. I'm at the Kleinfelt, TheKleinFelt. That's going to wrap up this episode of Controller Club. As always, thank you so much for listening and watching. Now, let's get gaming.